That's all right. Can you see the time? What time is it?
7:34.
The time is 7:34. We'll call this public hearing and regular business of mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia for Monday, September 24th, 2018 to order. First, we'll have our invocation. We have Laura Drake, the executive director with the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op, to give the invocation.
That's my girl. Okay, hello everyone. Let's pray. Good and gracious Father, we just thank you for this evening, Lord. Let us be about your business tonight. Lord, I thank you for these folks in this room, especially the ones in front of us, Lord, at this point, Lord, who take their role seriously, Lord. Help us, Lord, tonight, Lord. Let there be wise decisions, Lord, open hearts and open minds, that your name may be heard around the world, but especially here in Snellville. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Laura. Next, we'll have the pledge to the flag, and we have Greg and Jenny Earl and their son Spencer with Grayland Farms. They're a farmers market vendor since the market opened 9 years ago. So we have them to say the pledge.
All right, guys. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, under ceremonial matters, you may have all noticed the police presence in the room. It's not because we've had a bomb threat, but we're having a special presentation tonight. Our city police department is being certified by the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. So I'd like to bring forward, just to disclose, this is my brother-in-law, Mark Bender.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor, Barb. It's my pleasure to represent the Chiefs Association tonight in recognizing the police department for achieving state certification. The state certification program is a program that encompasses many different things. The role and responsibility of the agency, the organization of the agency, the personnel, legal, operations, support services, communication, and detention facilities. There are 129 standards in state certification. Many of the standards are multi-bulleted standards, which means that there are many standards encompassed in one overarching standard in many of the cases. And so what the police department has to do, they have to create policies that mirror the state certification program. Then they have to actually show compliance, or they have to show proofs that they actually meet the certification program. And then I put together a team of assessors, and they come out here from outside agencies, and they go through the files at the police department. They actually visit the police department. They go through the property and evidence room, which is a hugely important factor. They also review the agency's training records to make sure that they're meeting all of the training requirements in state certification. The training requirements in state certification are well above what's in state law. So there are many standards that require extra training beyond what the state law requires, and that enhances the professionalism of the agency. And also, you can see it in the personnel, when they buy into the program, that it just becomes a culture of professionalism throughout the agency. And that starts with the chief, who signed on to do that. I'm not sure if there was any arm twisting or anything like that that went on. But Chief, I would like to present you with your certification plaque. And this is from the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police, and I'll present this to Chief Whitehead. Congratulations, sir, on a job well done. And then the most important part, at least from my perspective, from having done this at the agency that I retired from, I brought them through 4 certification cycles. And even when I became the assistant chief, I still didn't want to give it up because it was mine. But I would like to recognize the certification manager for the Snellville Police Department, Lieutenant Rob Pendleton.
Mayor Pro Tem, it's okay, I'd like just to say a few words. The first thing I want to tell you is that this could only be done because of the actions of the men and women of the police department. And in the back, I would like for all of them to come up here because they're the ones that got this job done. Certification actually means that we meet best practices and standards in our profession. And what it means to me is that the civilians and the sworn members of our department came together to make this happen. Most agencies have a full-time certification manager. We've never had that luxury. So I do want to also echo Mark's words and recognize Lieutenant Rob Pendleton for the work he did. We've been working on this for a long time. He finally got it to fruition, but I have to be honest, he might not have made it if it weren't for Lieutenant Rain Nadeau. Unfortunately, she was on light duty, but we turned that light duty into heavy duty because we got certification done based on that. But again, I'm so proud of these men and women and the job they do. There's no police department better than these folks, and I'm so proud to be a part of them. Rob asked that we also give a certificate of appreciation to Rain because of the actions and the work that she did. So. So again, I just want to thank y'all for supporting the department and thank these men and women for the job they do every day. Thank you.
And Mark, I would like to thank the Georgia Association for the Chiefs of Police for all the work that you do and for helping our police department through this process.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you. And again, I mean, the chief is right. We have absolutely, I think, the best police department in the state of Georgia. So congratulations, everybody. Okay, next we have proclamation 2018-35. And Gretchen, we didn't talk about this, but did you want to read that?
I'd be honored to. And I would love to have the Earl family, Laura Drake, and all of the farmers market committee folks that are here to join me out this song. Okay, that's as good as it's gonna get. First of all, everybody knows Laura Drake from the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op. This is Greg Earl, his son Spencer, his wife Jeannie, and then all the Farmers Market Committee folks, of course, Kathy Emanuel, Kurt Schultz, Maggie Van Buren, Dale Stanley, Jeanette Deschardonnay, something like that. Deschardonnay. I try to say it with that French accent. Regina Hart, Ann McGill, and Ronnie Bentley. This is a proclamation recognizing the Greg Earl family. Whereas in 2018, it's estimated that 41 million people in the U.S. are hungry or don't know where their next meal is coming from. And whereas thousands of Gwinnett County residents will go to bed hungry tonight, some of whom could be a child who is undernourished and has difficulty learning on an empty stomach, a father who works 2 or 3 jobs and still has difficulty paying the bills, a working mother whose low-wage job does not make ends meet, or an elderly person who may have to choose between medical care or buying groceries. And whereas the mission of the Southeast Gwinnett Cooperative Ministry is to honor and uphold the Lordship of Jesus Christ by reaching out in his name to our neighbors in need so that the co-op's clients will find encouragement, love, and hope, and that the kingdom of God will be manifest on earth. And whereas the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op serves clients in Snellville, Grayson, and Loganville by providing assistance with food, personal care items, and household needs until they can get back on their feet. And whereas Greg and Jeannie Earl and their family have been vendors at the Snellville Farmers Market since its inception 9 years ago, and whereas this season the Earls have donated more than 250 boxes of high-quality fresh produce to the co-op, which equates to approximately 5,000 pounds of produce. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Barbara Bender, Mayor Pro Tem of the city of Snellville, Georgia, where everybody's proud to be somebody, do hereby join with our city council and the citizens of Snellville to show their heartfelt appreciation to the Earl family, who have so graciously donated the fruits of their labor toward making Snellville a city where everybody's proud to be somebody. And here's your copy of the proclamation.
Thank you very much.
And then we have one other item. Laura, the Farmers Market Committee has voted to donate $5,000 to the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op. And I would just like to say that the reason we're able to make donations to, like the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op, is that all of our volunteers do not earn a dime for all the hours that they contribute to the farmers market. So the vast majority of the fees that we collect for our booth fees, which is, we try to keep it a very minimal amount, but the vast majority of those fees we're able to donate to causes like the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op.
Thanks, y'all. Thank y'all. Okay, let me just hold you. Oh my goodness, thank y'all, all y'all.
Can I get the Miss Laura and the Earls and
Surprise. Okay.
Get the arrows in the street in the front.
Oh my goodness, y'all. I'm gonna lose that thing. Let me get over here.
You guys want to come on back, please?
Part of the co-op.
There we go, thank you. One more. Thank you.
All right, thank y'all. Thank y'all. Okay.
Our farmers market has really been such an awesome undertaking, and I'm just so proud of how well it's done. And Kurt and Gretchen do a super job with keeping the volunteers together and keeping it going, and having the vendors come back year after year. And just all the compliments that we get from the vendors that it's the best market around. And it really has brought so much community spirit in giving people a place to come and kind of mingle around and visit with each other on Saturday mornings, and as well as all of the outreach that they've done. The Farmers Market has given several donations. I know they help support the Veterans Memorial. They've done a lot with the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op. So it's just been really a wonderful undertaking for the city. Okay, next we have one more proclamation tonight, recognizing the dedication of Linda Burton of Miss Linda's Dance School. So I'll read this and then we'll have you all come up. Proclamation 2018-36, recognizing, well, I just said that. Whereas Mrs. Linda has been teaching dance, ballet, and tap for 20 years at Snellville United Methodist Church, where she has taught over 500 students in a Christian atmosphere. And whereas Mrs. Linda has a master's degree of education from the University of Georgia and 10 years experience as a school teacher, including a Teacher of the Year commendation at Duluth Middle School. And whereas she has danced since the age of 3 and was a dance company soloist and teaching assistant. Whereas her continuous dedication and loyalty to the community has inspired dance students to enjoy the performing arts, along with making a sweet learning experience for all ages. And whereas many of her students, ballerinas, have gone on to dance for years with area dance studios. And whereas being owner and teacher of Miss Linda's Dance School, Mrs. Linda and her family have been faithful longtime members of Snellville United Methodist Church. And whereas she has been an ongoing contributor to World Vision, a program that helps poverty-stricken children and families around the world, her passion to help others has been shown through her donation of giving a percentage of all dance tuitions to this prestigious charity, and some proceeds are also given to Snellville United Methodist Church. She has donated to these organizations for over 10 years. And whereas sometimes weathering her own storm, she is always there as a counselor or comforter every day for all of the little ballerinas. No matter what the issue, Mrs. Linda would say, "It will be all right." And whereas Miss Linda's Dance School of Snellville, Georgia, continues to bring the Snellville community and little ballerina hearts together through ballet, tap, and creative movement, using wholesome music and choreography, she is truly an awesome woman. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Barbara Bender, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Snellville, Georgia, where everybody is proud to be somebody, do hereby join with our City Council and the citizens of Snellville to recognize the dedication of Linda Burton of Miss Linda's Dance School. This proclamation was brought to me by Angela Martin, so I'd like to, if all of you could come up to the podium, we'll get some pictures.
Thank you so much. That is so sweet.
Very nice to meet you.
These are also former ballerinas.
My daughters.
All right, bunch. Here we go. One more. One more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bender. My name is Angela Martin. I just really want to say that Ms. Linda has been in my life for about 4 years, even though she's been doing this for about 20 years. And I just wanted to recognize you and let you know how much of a difference you made, not only in my granddaughter's life, but you also made a difference in mine. I love you and I love your family, and I just wanted to also, I can't top the proclamation, but I also wanted to, I just wanted to present this to you. And it says, to Miss Linda Burton, for 20 years of love, dedication, and potty breaks. Thank you. I saved that one for me. Thank you so much.
20 years of dedication is something that's worthy of proclamations and thanks. So we appreciate you being a part of this community. You're welcome. Next, we have the minutes, to approve the minutes for September 10th. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of the September 10th, 2018 meetings.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed. We have no invited guests. We have some committee and department reports. Snellville Tourism and Trade, Miss Kelly McAloon.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Our last meeting was held on September 17th, and I just want to tell everybody our organization is extremely strong and in very good standing. September was an exceptionally awesome month for us. We had 3 events back to back. Our Food Truck Friday in the beginning of the month was very well attended. Thousands actually attended our Taste of Snellville on the 15th. So for those of you who were able to make it out, it was a very good event. We had a lot of people that came up that said they loved the music. They just loved the relaxation of the event and the variety of vendors that we had there. So that was very exciting. And for those of you who attended our concert on Saturday night, Benny and the Jets with Mulligan Stew, was, we had a full house. So it was especially exciting with all the neighboring cities having big events on Saturday as well, that we had the crowd we had. So I was very excited about that. Our Snellville Spirit magazine hit the streets the beginning of September. That was also very well received, and we're working on our winter edition, which will come out 2 weeks before our Christmas tree lighting in November. Mark your calendars for our very last Food Truck Friday, which will be October 5th on the Green, 4 to 8 p.m., and our Fall Festival, which will be October 20th from noon to 6. Our Commerce Club meetings are also, they've picked up and are very well attended, and we're looking forward to Laura Drake as our speaker in October 2nd Commerce Club meeting. So we invite everybody to join us. I was honored to be asked to be on the Britt Elementary School Council as a business partner representing Snellville Tourism and Trade. So that was pretty neat to do, and to meeting with all the other councils. And I'll tell you, there's just a lot of great stuff going on in Snellville and in the clusters. So I'm glad to be part of that, because it just connects you to another piece of a lot of information that I think can be advantageous to us. As always, I want to thank all our volunteers and our sponsors, because without them, we could not do the major things we do in this city. With the large events that go on, it takes people to do that, and it takes our sponsors to help out. So big thanks to them, and continued thanks to our Public Works Department for the help that they always give us to prepare the city. And of course, to Snellville's finest, our police department keeps us safe with everything, each event. And that pretty much sums it up.
Very good. Thanks, Kelly.
Okay.
Next, we have a report from our Snellville Youth Commission by Josiah Van.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Temp and the council for coming out. First of all, I want to start off by saying thank you to the mayor and the council for participating in South Gwinnett's homecoming parade. For this report, the first meeting, we introduced topics like school environment, spirit. We had our elections. I was elected the mayor of the Snellville Youth Council. Our Mayor Pro Temp is Jabria Troxler, and our council is made of Shelley, Armand, Diamond, and Abigail. The second meeting we did a tour led by Eric Van Arderen, who is the Snellville Economic Development. He talked about city development, bringing business to Snellville, spending dollars in Snellville. He gave us a tour around Snellville, showing us what the city would look like in upcoming years, and how we can play our part in changing the city and making the population younger and bringing business in, and basically helping out Snellville for the future. With our youth forum taking place on October 20th, we have business officials and future government officials coming from 5:30 to 8 at the City Hall, and we are basically going to be talking to them in the format of a speed dating. So we're going to spend a certain amount of time at each table talking to them, asking them questions. Also, I forgot one more thing. We also went to Tomco at the second meeting, and Tomco is a leading developer of carbon dioxide in Snellville, and we were shown around, and they told us positions and opportunities that students can make once we graduate. And we also went to Eastside, and we talked to Hampton Inn, some people who work there, and they also told us about opportunities and how to make it in business. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And congratulations on being elected mayor. And next, we'll have the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda with one amendment under new business. I'd like to add item C, 2645 Governor's Walk Boulevard, a nuisance action.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That is 5 in favor of amending the agenda. Next, we'll go into our public hearing. We have item A, a second reading, annexation 18-01, LUP 18-01, RZ 18-03, consideration and recommendation on applications by Century Communities of Georgia, LLC, requesting annexation, land use plan amendment to medium-density residential, zoning map amendment to RHOP 55 SF, and request for variances for a 57-lot, age-restricted, single-family detached subdivision on a 17.55-acre tract located at the intersection of Ridgedale Drive and Pinehurst Road in Snellville, Georgia. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, citizens, for being here tonight. So just to kind of repeat what you just recited, we have 3 applications in front of you tonight. There's an annexation application, which is a request to take in property from unincorporated Gwinnett into the municipal boundaries of Snellville. It's approximately a 17.55 acre tract. Upon annexation, if approved, they've requested to amend the land use to a city land use of RHOP. There's actually the land use map would be medium density residential, and then we would also need to apply zoning, which would be the RHOP 55 or the senior housing for 55 and over. They've also requested a couple of variances. As you can see in the picture, it shows the corner there of Pinehurst and Ridgedale, where the proposed, or it's actually already existing development in the county is there. They've already received a preliminary plat and are beginning, about to start actually building the homes. They've installed the infrastructure, sewer, water, all that. It's located mainly next to low density type emerging suburban kind of residential land uses. And you can see to the southwest there where the city has already approved a similar development known as Saddlebrook Phase 2 on the old horse farm property. So once again, they're coming in to annex, land use plan amendment, and rezone. And I'll just put up a picture of their portion of it in the county so you can kind of get a good look of what you're dealing with. This was previously approved by the county in February of 2017 for 57 lot age restricted single family detached subdivision with 6 conditions. They're now asking to bring that into the larger development, and we have another public hearing for that after this, a little change in conditions, but this is the overall scope, excuse me, kind of how we got here. The original rezoning was done through the county through another builder called Pulte that agreed to these conditions after some communication with the neighbors and adjoining residents on how to make the property or project fit in the area. It was later sold to Century Communities, who at the same time we were dealing with a rezoning to another developer on our portion of it, which is on the west side there, and through another builder. Well, long story short, Century bought this one and then became interested in the other tract. At that point in time, we felt it would be a good idea to recommend annexation so that the entire development could be within one municipal boundary. You could understand there'd be a line basically dictated up there where one person would call the Gwinnett County Public Works or the planning department, and the other would call the city. There'd be a couple different trash haulers in there, and then most importantly, a couple different police jurisdictions in there with Gwinnett County and Snellville. So just due to the consistency with service delivery, we recommended that they come in and talk to us about annexation. They agreed. The land use is the same as it is on the other side of the connection there. It's considered medium density residential, but only because that's the land use associated with that zoning. It's actually going to be 3.25 units per acre, well below the 4 units that represents medium density residential. It falls within the North Road, Pinehurst Road stable neighborhoods area, which call for single family detached homes with high percentages of ownership, and is supported by several other policies found in the comprehensive plan. And the zoning map amendment, they're going to bring it from the county's RSR to the city's RHOP 55. There'll be ingress and egress points as shown on the on the property map, one on the north end up there on Ridgedale and one on Pinehurst. And the traffic generation, we went over that a little bit previously, but typically it's almost 60% less trips in a senior-oriented development versus regular single-family. And so from a land use and a zoning perspective, it fits. And just kind of go over, this has already been approved through the county, even the development plan. So we're basically just going to bring it in, and then once the building commences, it'll be under the city's umbrella. But they've also requested a couple of variances and then an amendment to a condition that was previously presented under the county's case, but I'll go over the variance applications first. Previously, with the one that we adopted, there was a 70% requirement for some kind of masonry product, brick, stone, or stucco to encapsulate the front elevation. What we see now in the market, and these are just the different options for the Ambrose plan. I guess the S is missing there, but it goes from 10% masonry all the way up to 100, and that's another way to kind of break up all those homes, make them look a little different, and allow for people to choose their exteriors so that they get the product that they want. The Craftsman look is really in style now, where it's just semi-stone or brick, and then the rest is some kind of concrete product like hardy plank or shakes. And the applicant has agreed to add a 24-inch high water table on the front and side elevations, regardless of what the percentage is. So they're basically asking to be allowed to vary from 10 to 100% masonry product on the front. And we don't have any issues with that. I think it's reasonable, given the price point of the homes, that the quality is going to be maintained with or without brick and stone on the front. They've also requested to actually reduce the actual square footage minimum for a 3-bedroom home. See what happens here, and this is where I was kind of failed to explain well within the meeting, is there's a flex space here. So right now this is a 2-bedroom, and it's under the required, it's over the 1,800 square foot. So the reduction in the minimum heated square footage for 3-bedroom homes to accommodate the Ambrose floor plan, which is like 10% of their sales. 2 bedrooms on the main level and a flex space which can be utilized as an office or craft room or 3rd bedroom. So if they add that 3rd bedroom in, it makes, they need it to be a little lower. It doesn't add up to 1,800 square feet. So if it's used as a flex space in an office, it doesn't meet the minimum square footage, but if they use it as a 3rd bedroom, it does as a help at all. So 2 bedrooms, it has to be a certain size. And if it's a 2-bedroom with the flex space, even though it's the same floor plan, it only equals 1,700. So they have to be able to reduce that so it'll meet the requirement. I'll let Mitch explain it a little bit better, definitely. And then there was one I think is a significant enough amendment to the conditions that we should discuss it, and that was basically in the Pulte zoning from which they allowed. There was one condition that basically the homeowners association would be responsible for the exterior maintenance of individual residents, to include at a minimum the painting of an exterior on a rotation not to exceed 6 years. So basically Pulte agreed that they would make sure the HOA built into their HOA fees a fee that be painted every 6 years. Most of the time, 6 years, you don't have to paint the cement siding that often, and we don't really have a precedent here within Snellville that we've ever applied that to. So originally, we were just trying to be consistent with the county zoning, so we applied the condition to this property and the other property. And after the Planning Commission, the applicant expressed his desire to have that amended, that he was under the assumption that was actually only going to be enforced by the HOA and not actually done and implemented. So they've asked that the condition as presented in your ordinance is that the HOA will enforce the 6-year paintings as needed on the homes. So they won't actually build them into the HOA cost, which they say becomes prohibitive to competition, as other associations would be much less, and it would hurt them because it's not an equal playing field basically for everybody else. So we don't have any issues with that. Typically these type of neighborhoods that are private gated streets, take care of themselves. The covenants are usually very strong, and so are the HOA. Everybody wants to maintain a nice house and keep everybody's values up. So those are the requests. We've recommended approval for the 3 applications, as well as the condition amendment and the variances based on the ordinances that were submitted to you in your packets, with the 23 conditions as stated. Anybody have any questions?
Are there any questions of Mr. Thompson?
Jason, can you tell us exactly how condition number 10 should be read then? Homeowners Association shall be responsible for exterior lawn and shrub maintenance. Is that first part still applicable?
Yeah, everything's valid as it's presented in the ordinance, so let me make sure. Number 10, as presented in the ordinance.
And then it has reference to the 6-year painting. Do we need to change up some of, or
Yeah, the homeowners association shall be responsible for the enforcement
responsible for the enforcement?
of the exterior maintenance of the individual residents, to include at the minimum painting of the exterior on a rotation not to exceed 6 years.
So we're just adding the words for the enforcement.
Right.
Got it.
Well, that's the way it reads right now.
I've got this one.
It says the
Maybe I'm-
homeowners association shall be responsible for the exterior lawn and shrub maintenance for all open space and individual residences, and shall enforce the painting of the building exteriors on a rotation not to exceed 6 years.
And that's on number 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
The second one reads differently. The one for RZ 1804 needs to be revised to be consistent.
With the LUP?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was looking at the one, I see one that says what Christie brought up, so there's just some.
That's 03.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking at RZ 18-03, which is what we're
okay.
considering now.
03 is correct, and 04 needs to be changed.
Okay.
Okay,
So we don't need to add anything to 03?
correct.
Okay. But we do to 04,
Yeah, we'll address
but
that.
we'll deal with that.
No. Sorry about that. Anything else?
Any other questions for Mr. Thompson?
Do you know what the price points are of these?
I'll let the
Houses.
applicant speak to that, but he said typically after, these are kind of semi-custom homes, you come in, you buy the base, and then you put it, bring your wife in, and then you're up to, $400,000. So they expect like $325 to $400. That's what he said.
Just don't have me meet with the electrician.
Right.
My husband learned that one.
But typically, I think their base price is the, $325 or so, and then as many add-ons as you can get, I guess. That's how most construction companies do it these days.
Okay. Anything else? Is the applicant here? Mr. Peavy?
Thank you. Mitch Peavy, 4480 Commerce Drive in Beaufort. As you've heard, and this has been an exciting project for me. This is my 3rd time to rezone this property, so I'm going to miss it when it's actually developed. And the applicant, what they're trying to do is to get it where it's all coordinated in that it's right hand and left hand right now. And they also have, when they purchased the Gwinnett County property, there was an engineer already working on it. And then when they purchased the Snellville property, there's another engineer working on it. So they're dealing with 2 engineering firms on design and making everything match, plus going through permitting with 2 different government entities. So they are having a great time themselves as far as this property goes. And so that's part of the confusion and where we're trying to get the conditions for the city changed just a little bit, those 2 conditions there, and then trying to get the ones from the county to kind of match up now, in that Century did not zone either one of these to start with. The Gwinnett County property. I did that zoning for Pulte, and so they had things agreed to with their program. And then I think it was Jim Chapman that was going to be involved on the Snellville part that ended up dropping that contract, and so he had things zoned to his requirements and his home styles. And so what we're trying to do again is get it to where it's all apples and apples instead of having this mixed bag and the problems that we'll have as you go through, especially for staff trying to figure out what am I supposed to do here or there, and keeping everything coordinated. It's just you saw the plan. What's happening too by having the properties joined together. When we were just doing the Gwinnett County property, it was just going to be a walkways, pathways, not really going to have much as far as amenity goes. They were talking about a little small dog park or something would be about it. But now that you've joined these two together, they're able to add an amenity package, which will have a clubhouse, a pickleball court, and then also an easy access pool. As you see, it has a long entry feature to it, so as you mature in place, you can utilize the facilities there and stay active. That would not be possible as a 57 lot standalone as far as the annexation part goes. You heard about the Ambrose. That's the one house that is, if you take that small room, which is, we think it's going to be like an office, computer room is what it'll be mainly. If you take it that way, we're fine with it, but we didn't want to cause staff any heartburn in the future where somebody came in and said they wanted to do a bedroom there and put a twin bed's about all you might could do. If you got 2 grandkids, you might do a bunk bed or something there. But we just wanted to make sure that it was clear that would be allowed. If they do the bonus rooms upstairs, which majority of them do with that home, that's going to add, with options, you can add 400 to 700 square foot. If that's there, it's over anyway, so we're just asking for that little change, just an abundance of caution, so that Jason and his staff is not just pulling their hair out going, oh no, you can't call it that, change it to this, and then it just gets to be an issue later on. The price points, as you've heard, the sign's going to say from the low 3s, and then we're going to have the option packages laid out. You want this, and typically these buyers are coming in, they're downsizing, and they're wanting all the bells and whistles, and so some of the homes will get to be above $400,000 in price, and again, with all the amenities and options, that's going to drive the price up too. We've put so that everybody, the lake is an amenity. We put the rec packages right there on the lake so that everybody in the community is going to have the ability to be able to use that. Part of the conversations we're still having, the dog park we were showing here, we're thinking about with this open space area there is to have that as the dog park, and we're going to have a dog beach. Somebody came in with that idea to do that. People have Labradors and stuff that love to get into the water, and so why not just go ahead and make it a little extra amenity for your pet then to have their own dog beach. Another thing I've talked to them about is that I think it's a great idea. My cousins own Summit Chase, and so it's been a while back I spoke with Don Britt about it, but to offer some temporary memberships there, that is an option that you can have. Then if you like it, then Don says then they can become full members in it and stuff. So we're again trying to integrate it into the community and trying to bring stuff that 55 and older who are active. I qualify for that. And again, be happy to answer any questions. I'm trying to go through it quickly. It's been a long day for you, I'm sure, so be happy to answer any questions. Oh, and on the changes, number 10 is critical. Typically, you have the maintenance of the homes is done when you have townhomes, not detached homes. That is really a make or break for us, that if you choose to leave that as is, we would ask for it to be denied.
Thank you, Mr. Peavy. I do have one question. I know when we approved the part that was in the city, and it was going to have an entrance out on Ridgedale and one on Pinehurst. Mm-hmm. And have we dropped one of those entrances?
Right, we don't need to have two. They were going to have an entrance here.
Right.
And so it makes sense to have that entrance here and just have one, and it's going to be gated, and then this one, everything will be gated in private streets in here.
Okay.
So just 2 total entrances is all we need.
Okay.
With 170 lots or 167, there's no reason for 3.
Okay. And then just to make it clear that everybody understands, and it'll be clear in the homeowners association covenants as well, that with the gated community and private streets, that it will be the homeowners association that will maintain the streets.
Absolutely. We
Okay.
understand that fully.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Peavy? Okay, thank you, Mr. Peavy.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, so I will open the floor up for public comment. If anyone has any comments, either for or against this rezoning and annexation, please step forward and give your name and address for the record. No takers? With that, I will close the public hearing. Does council have any other comments or questions before we move to make motions? No, then I will entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you going to are you closing both?
No, I'm closing for the first one.
The first, okay, the second hasn't happened yet.
Correct.
Thank you.
You want to come up
I
for the
couldn't hear
second
too
one?
much, so-
Okay. Okay, is there a motion on the annexation?
Motion to approve ANX 18-01 with reference to ordinance 2018-12.
There's a motion to approve the annexation. Is there a second?
Second.
So motion and a second to approve. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed. Next, I'll entertain a motion for the LUP 18-01.
Motion to approve LUP-01. Did I say the wrong thing? 18-01.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
So motion and a second to approve LUP 18-01. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed. Next, we have the rezoning 18-03. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve RZ 18-03 as discussed previously.
Pardon? Does that include the conditions in the ordinance? Or can you reference the ordinance?
Yeah, what's the ordinance number?
I've got it here, just a second. It's ordinance 2018-14.
Yeah, I said that.
Huh?
I said RZ 1803.
Yeah, can you also reference the ordinance, just so we make sure we have the right?
Okay, with reference to RZ 1803 ordinance.
2018
2018-14.
2018-03.
No.
Dash 14.
We're going to get this right. It is rezoning.
Dave, you get a 0.
It is rezoning 18-03.
With reference to ordinance number 2018-14.
Yes.
Okay.
I get the rest of them. Forget y'all.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second. I
Do I-
do. Do you do?
So we have a motion and a second to approve RZ-18-03 with reference to ordinance 2018-14. With that, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed. Okay, we made it through that one. Next up, item B, we have second reading RZ-18-04, consideration and recommendation on application by Century Communities of Georgia LLC, requesting a change in conditions from the 8/28/2017 approved rezoning. That was case RZ 17-11, and variances for a 110-lot, age-restricted, single-family detached subdivision on a 36.25-acre tract zoned RHOP 55SF and located near the intersection of Ridgedale Drive and Pinehurst Road, Snellville, Georgia. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Now that you've done all the heavy lifting, basically the whole presentation we gave before, this is just for the two variance requests, as dealing with the front elevations as well as the minimum floor space requirement, and to amend condition number 10 to reflect the verbiage in the previous ordinance, 2018-14, I believe. Same thing. So any questions?
Any questions of Mr. Thompson? Thank you. Mr. Peavy, is there anything you'd like to say?
Thank you. Commerce Drive in Buford. And I just want to point out, in your original, when this came through with the Jim Chapman Group and all, it was approved for 130 lots in this section of the property, and they're only developing 110 on this section. So they reduced it again because their footprint and everything's different, and the more open space that they're doing as well too. So.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Peavy on this one? Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so I will open up for a public comment. If you'd like to come up and speak either for or against RZ 18-04, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Sir, if you want to come up.
Bob Wilder, 2135 Chaparral Drive. I'm not speaking for or against or for anybody but my own property because I've not talked to any of the neighbors. I have a question on the landscape buffer. The 2017 had a 25-foot dimension. There's no markings on the 2018. So my question is, I assume it'll still be 28. What will be the minimum that will be allowed to get to my property line?
Mr. Thompson can answer that for you. He'll answer that.
Oh, okay.
All right, so which one are you at over there on Chaparral?
Lower left corner.
Okay, down here?
No, way over.
Here's where the,
Okay, I'm sorry, Chaparral. I'm right there, 180.
okay, all right. So here's, oh, you've actually got it. Here's the detail of what the condition requires, and the width will vary based on the stormwater, but the actual buffer is shown on this sheet. Let me get in real close. I believe it is. See the 25-foot setback that's actually shown, and let me get my pen out.
Yeah, it'll be right past the curve there.
Right, if you look at lot 39 towards the west side, that block A, that first dashed line on the left is the 25-foot width, and then the 5-foot is off the back of that, I believe. So the buffer starts on their property and goes back.
So what will be the closest I will ever get to my property line?
The house?
No, what will be the closest the barrier will get to my property line?
The beginning of the buffer?
No, the ending of the buffer. Landscapes go horizontal.
I mean, it shows here that kind of the plantings will be on top of the berm, so that could be anywhere from 6 to 8 feet.
Okay, so it'll always be space.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, we
okay.
wouldn't want to plant it right against the line just for fence maintenance, and the bigger
Yeah,
issue too is the drainage.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things I'll show on
Yeah,
that. No, that's the second. Timing on it, what part of the, what phase, since this is phase B, I know it's the last thing going to be done. Is there a timetable on putting in the buffer as opposed to when the rest of the construction gets done?
Typically, once they're done with the grading and kind of the general lot layout, and they can stake them out, we encourage them to plant the buffers as early as possible so they can begin to establish. Now, we just want to make sure that once they're planted, they're not getting back in there and killing them, and it's the right time of the year too. So typically, as soon as possible.
Good, that's understandable. Now, while you're here, let me put another one in. That is the back of my property now. The fence line is right there.
Yep.
So you see, I'm losing about 6 foot of my backyard. So my question is, that's why I asked, when is it going to be done? And then here's another one.
Those look in bad shape.
And this is, once again, you can see the fence back there. That branch is hanging up there. It's about 6 inches around. I have no way to get it down without having it done. But you'll see the tree is dead all the way.
And that's on the applicant's property, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, they'll take care of that.
My question is there a way that behind my property that could be cleaned out? Because it's keeping me from listing my property for sale. Number one, I'm gonna have to pay to take this one out. That one is gonna cost me to get out unless you knock the tree down and take it with it.
But the tree's on their property, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's their responsibility. I'm sure if you stay and talk with Mr. P, they can work something out to help get you a tree out.
It's on the developer's side.
Right. Mr. Wilder, since that doesn't have to do with the conditions or the variances on this, if you want to talk to Mr. Peavy.
I would like to see something put in there that at the property owner's request, the barriers behind their property can be cleaned up within a reasonable time, 30 days or something like that. And then if somebody else wants theirs cleaned up, okay, I would like to have mine cleaned up. But if the developer would agree to do it, that's fine. But it might be, if it's in there, that the developer will clean the fence line at the homeowner's request within a reasonable time, instead of waiting until the construction, because, you know, it could be 6 months, a year before they get back there, and my property might be on the market before that.
So what you're asking for is an added condition that this tree and area will be cleaned up within a certain period of time?
Just
Okay.
be reasonable about it. Just,
Okay.
You know, you can see my problem.
Okay.
I think that's yours there. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any comments, either for or against, on this rezoning matter? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Denise Concepcion, and I live at 1825 Chaparral Court. My property is adjacent to that property, and I've been watching the progress of the construction go along, and I'm resigned to the fact that I won't hear any more neighing horses over there. I am adjacent to the creek, and whatever is on the other side of the creek, if it is alive, I want it to stay there, because the less I can see of the neighborhood, the better for me. So if there are trees dead along that property line, they should be removed for the safety of everyone, and then the berm would begin with that 25 feet from the property line. Some of the property is on my side, my property's on both sides of the creek, depending on the lay of the land. So I understand what he's saying. If he's got dead trees there, that they should be handled by the owner of the property. But if there are live trees, I want all that to remain as it is and not disturb any more than has already been disturbed. And they have taken down a lot of trees to accommodate that detention pond in the front, et cetera. So I see what he's saying, but I'm actually looking forward to the community because it's good to have a place for the seniors. We are woefully low on senior housing in Gwinnett County, so.
Okay, thank you. Jason can address your question on the,
The question specifically about the creek, and that there'll be no disturbance within 50 feet of that stream bank on either side. So if your property runs in and out
I
of the
run
creek,
right along. I'm
it'll
on the
be- it'll all-
court.
Yeah, all those, all that area will be protected. And then I'm sure as the developer gets back into some of more of the thick stuff, they'd rather preserve, and we would rather preserve the existing stock. Yeah, here's the creek, so you're good. There's the
Yeah,
buffer.
I'm right there. That's my
So
property
all
at
that'll
the
be
end.
protected, and if there's a way for them to preserve some already established plantings along the rest of that fence that aren't dead and diseased, then we'll just kind of take a look at that as we get through the process.
So are you saying that dead trees will be removed? Because, I mean, personally, I've taken down 9 or 12 trees on my own property in my 2 acres in the last 7 years I've lived there. Recently, I had 6 in my pool this summer, so I understand the danger that trees can pose, in particular dead
Yeah,
trees.
they don't want to leave trees to fall on their brand new houses, so they're gonna remove anything that's dangerous. Most of the time, they clear right up to the line just to get the grading and the drainage right.
But
Most
now
of-
you have 50 feet of creek.
Only on where the stream is, if you can see, that's that black line.
Yeah, that's my property.
Right, so that's the only place that the buffers are. It breaks off this way and not up here, so.
Right.
50 feet on either side of that black stream will be, or that line will be protected.
Okay. All right, I can live with that.
all right. Thank you, Ms. Concepcion. Thought y'all were challenging me here tonight. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against or make a comment? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment portion and entertain a motion. Or first, are there any other questions or comments by council before a motion? Okay?
Yes, Tony?
You know, zoning conditions are really designed to enforce governmental rules, and they are really not designed to do private property interests. You know, the key remedy, I guess, for the adjacent property owner is there is a current owner who has exposure from those trees. They have an insurance company that protects them. And as soon as this property changes hands, as soon as it closes, then the applicant, I think, will take up that responsibility. And it looked to me like everybody's been put on notice that those trees are in bad condition, and it would be a good thing to get them down quickly from his own liability standpoint, but there's not a condition that should be imposed for a private interest.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. And is there a motion?
Motion to approve RZ 18-04 with reference to the ordinance 2018-15 with the staff recommended conditions with one amendment, amending number 10, condition number 10, so that it should reflect the verbiage as stated in RZ 18-03 passed previously.
I think that's enough. Okay, so there's a motion to approve RZ 18 with condition number 10 to match the same condition number 10 in RZ 18-03. Is that clear for you? Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peavy. Okay, that will end our public hearing. We have nothing on the consent agenda, no old business. Under new business, we had item A, consideration and action on award of bid for repair of stormwater drainage systems. Do you want to talk about that one?
Sure.
I'm looking around.
This is our annual capital project, stormwater capital project bid. There are 12 projects on the bid list. We received some very competitive bids. The recommendation, as it has been for several years now, is to award the contract to the Dickerson Group in the amount of $601,694. We have $650,000 in our stormwater capital budget. We hope that we can complete these 12 projects within that $650,000 number, but the contract would be for $601,694. They do a very good job, and we feel confident that they'll continue this year.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the award of bid for repair of stormwater drainage systems, bid number PW 180801, for an amount not to exceed $601,694.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed. Item B, we have consideration and action on approval of change order number 1 to intergovernmental agreement for 2014 SPLOST to fund Tree Lane subproject. Mr. Sanders, you want to talk about that, or you?
Sure. We were very fortunate. Our 2014 SPLOST joint project list included 5 projects, 2 sidewalks on Oak Road and on Main Street, and right-of-way acquisition for the 2 roundabouts at North and Fars and Ridgedale and Fars. The county estimate was somewhere in the $2.4 million range. We were able to complete those 4 projects for a little less than $1.2 million, leaving $1,240,000 remaining in 2014 joint SPLOST funds. They require a change order. The 5th project was engineering for Tree Lane improvements. They require a change order at this time to put those dollars towards that 5th project. When that's complete, we'll have the option of seeing what the remainder of the funds are at that time, and we can petition for further projects. So I would just ask for the approval of change order number 1 with the county.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve change order number 1 to intergovernmental agreement for the 2014 SPLOST to fund Tree Lane subproject.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
I heard Christie chime in first. Sorry, Dave. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed. Okay, next we have item added number C, or letter C, which is nuisance action for 2645 Governor's Walk Boulevard. Mr. Thompson, if you want to give us some information.
Sure, get the presenter, please. This house is located in the Governor's Walk neighborhood, which is across from the Snellville Oak Shopping Center. It was originally rezoned back in the early 2000s with a construction date of around 2006. As everyone knows, the market shortly crashed after that, and a lot of these homes were left in very poor situations and partially built and in a lot worse shape than this one. However, as the economy improved, most of those homes, if not all of them, have been repaired and constructed, except for this one home who constantly is not cutting the grass, has boarded up windows, and even has some remaining, as you can see, some silt fence left there. So we've gotten several complaints from the neighbors, and we originally abated this. What we're requesting here is just for the request to begin the nuisance abatement process, but we originally had the owner brick up the front porch, complete what was pretty much incomplete on the outside in 2012. Well, now it's been with the understanding that it was going to be completed. Well, here it is, 2018, nearly probably 15 years since the original construction of the property, and the home is still left boarded up with wooden post on the front porch with some decaying wood structure and All we're asking for is that we can begin the nuisance abatement process, which basically allows for the city attorney to do a title search, find who owns the property, send them a letter asking them to take care of the problems, and if we were able to inspect the inside, if there's anything that's damaged or broken that needs to be repaired, that would be part of the report as well. But then it gives the property owner a chance to respond to the demand letter, and typically a lot of times that's what gets somebody's attention. We can send code enforcement letterhead all day and it doesn't seem to work the same way. We had 3 nuisance abatements before you just last month, and I think two out of those 3 are on their way to being cured just by a letter. So we just ask that we can reopen this one up and initiate that process and end this kind of blighted condition for this neighborhood.
Here we go. My button wasn't working. Mr. Thompson, the owner, the current owner, have you had recent dealings with him?
From what I understand, it's been in and out. It may still be the same owner from 2012 or 2013. I think it was, the property was kind of taken on what's called a super lien, where they lien the tax debt. And then, well, now they've got this, the problem now is that they can't really sell it now because we've got the city's lien from the first abatement for all the fees and documentation we did on the first time. So there's probably more than just that one lien on the property now, which may be encumbering its final completion. But I'm unsure if it's the same property owner or not.
Okay, but
It's
this
been
has,
kind of shelled around between LLCs and stuff like that.
and it's been going on since 2012, since
Well, I mean,
the last
this-
time we were involved.
This home was originally permitted in 2006, so 12 years it's had to be constructed, and this is what's there.
And has code enforcement been out there recently?
We just got a complaint. Instead of playing around and running through these same kind of procedures, we just would rather get their attention quickly than just send the demand letter over. It seems to have better action.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Thompson?
Yes, we don't know what the condition is inside the house?
Well, we inspected it back in 2012 or 2013, and it was in good enough shape to not call for the demolition of the building, and the owner at the time decided to make enough exterior improvements to stabilize the property, like I said, with the understanding that they were going to complete it. It was never completed. Now, between now and then, in 6 years, if there's a leak or something, then it could potentially be a structural issue. But we typically don't go inside until we have to, where there's a known safety issue in that. If they were to re-permit it, which they would be required to do to finish it, we would send the inspector in with their permission to make sure that they had all the appropriate inspections done.
And do we know if anybody's been breaking into the house and using it as a flop house?
I looked at the inside. It doesn't appear to be. Who knows how that window got broken, but it looks to be well secured.
Any other questions for Mr. Thompson?
For Tony. Hey, Tony, so this, what will be the part where you did tax lien on the property? What step would that be in the process?
This one's come up to us a little bit quickly. So there was a pending nuisance action that dates back to 2011. There's some communications about paying that off, which is what Jason just referred to. I don't have any confirmation that it got paid off, so we may have a lien on this property already. It attaches like the taxes for the previous nuisance action, which would have included the inspection that was done at the time, an appraisal that was done at the time, and the legal fees that go with the nuisance action of cleaning up. I don't know that there was anything done to actually structurally fix it at that point.
We didn't touch the property.
So, but there was a lot of effort made to clean it up at that point. So we may have a lien. Once you initiate this process, there's what's called a lease pendens, which means we file at the courthouse, the Gwinnett County Courthouse, a notice that says, hey, there could be a lien coming from this, and we get priority as of the date we file that lease pendens, and it goes with the nuisance action. It just picks it up, if they want to fix it right away, they can fix it and not incur any cost, and we just dismiss that les pendens. If they don't, and we start incurring charges as a result of that, including the cost of securing the property and fixing it up, then at that point, all those attach, and the court order will date it back to the date the les pendens is first filed to give us priority. So we get priority of timing, and we get priority of being a tax lien, which is superior to other lien positions.
And the timeline for that after, let's say this passes, what will be the timeline after that where the person will basically have to satisfy whatever it is they got to satisfy before the city basically goes in?
If we don't have it today, and if it's not sitting there since 2012, then we will probably initiate to get the les pendens filed within about 10 days, because we do the notice letter. We usually get a response from the property owner. Depending on how they respond, we move forward from that point. So going full speed, which is what this one really deserves because it's been sitting there for 12 years. I mean, it's a remarkable event to have an incomplete house under work with nuisance actions pending for that period of time. So this owner needs to have, a real conversation with the planning department to say, these are the dates we're going to meet. And it could be that there are issues that have to do with title because it had a significant tax issue involved. That may be what's holding everybody up, is that nobody knows who the owner is. And it doesn't matter to us. We contact them all and push them all to resolve their issue or get inside the house. We can do that with a court order. We can get inside the house and determine if 12 years of construction activity with leaks and have left it in a condition where it's dangerous and it needs to be torn down. So
basically, once all those assumptions are settled, then y'all will negotiate timeline on when they have to fix whatever.
And we usually base that on goodwill too. I mean, if somebody's in and if they show progress, we always allow for some leniency. It's when they, basically stop you or don't do anything. The non-response is the worst one, but most times once we're contacted, it's a reasonable time to get once the nudge is sent, usually people come in and we can accommodate their request if they're reasonable, which would be, a couple months to get something together and submit it and started working, because then they still have to go through the permitting process again.
And then one more question, Mr. Powell. There would be no liens added or added exposure for the property owner unless the city starts incurring charges.
It's just whatever's out of pocket to the city. It's private property. We're using city resources to clean it up. Those attached. It's just direct cost.
Okay, anyone have any further comment, or I'll entertain a motion?
Motion to authorize the planning department and city attorney to proceed with the nuisance abatement process on 2645 Governor's Walk Boulevard.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed. Okay, that ends our new business. We'll go into our council reports. Councilmember Marmol. Councilmember Linsky.
Just wanted to take a quick minute before 9 o'clock, which is my cutoff time for comments, and commend Eric Van Otteren for his amazing service to the Snellville Youth Commission. He really, and of course he's left by this point, but he put so much time and energy into planning the field trip day for the young people and contacted the businesses, especially Tomco, so that they got a tour of the plant and really got a sense of what kinds of jobs and alternatives are out there in the workplace, the expectations that are placed upon them as young people, and give them a realistic viewpoint of what is really in the city of Snellville and what we have to offer, and they can return to after they graduate from college.
Thank you, Ms. Linsky. Mr. Emanuel?
It occurred to me that we haven't had anybody ask, have you shopped local lately? And I think we have some great businesses here in Snellville, and I want to encourage you to shop local. I also spent a couple of times in the past talking about our police department, and I think you saw firsthand that they are the best in the area. So again, my commendation to Chief Roy Head and Roy Whitehead. It's one of those nights tonight, and the rest of the police department for always doing such an exceptional job.
Councilmember Schultz.
Well, speaking of shopping local, I just want to mention that this Saturday will be our last Snellville Farmers Market for our regular season. And as I met council meeting, at the request of our vendors, we're going to hold an extended season market, which will be the first Saturday of each month, 9 to 12, in the parking lot behind the building here.
Very good. And I don't have anything for the mayor's report, so we will move on to public comment. If anyone would like to state an issue, make a comment, come on up, give your name and address. You got 5 minutes, Kurt, no more.
Kurt Schultz, 2027 Tanglewood Drive. Talking about the second presentation. I'm not sure if he's still here, but
Mr. Peavy?
Wes Nettleton from our garden. He has maintained about at least 2 or 3 beds usually for the all the crops grown in those have been donated to the co-op too, and I just wanted to recognize him for his work. I wish we had gotten him up here also during the presentation, but yeah. Anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else? We weren't able to have our executive session before the meeting because we were running too long in our work session. So we will have that now. I'm going to read that meeting notice. We're not expecting any action to come out of the executive session. During the public hearing of the mayor and city council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Pro Tem Bender announced that certain matters should be discussed in a closed session of the meeting and asked council to advise the city with respect to closing the meeting. City Attorney Tony Powell advised the city of the following reasons to close the meeting: to discuss pending and/or potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial actions which is exempt from the Open Meetings Act pursuant to OCGA Section 50-14-21, to authorize negotiations to purchase, dispose of, or lease property, authorize the ordering of an appraisal related to the acquisition or disposal of real estate, enter into a contract to purchase, dispose of, or lease property subject to approval and a subsequent public vote, or enter into an option to purchase, dispose of, or lease real estate subject to approval and subsequent public vote, which is excluded from the Open Meetings Act pursuant to Section 50-14-3B1. Upon a motion of council member
Emmanuel
and seconded by council member
Schultz.
The meeting was closed with the following council members and the mayor present and voting. Mayor Pro Tem Barbara Bender, yes. Dave Emanuel. Christy Linsky. Yes. Roger Marmel. Yes. Gretchen Schultz. Thereupon, all persons left the room, which will be us.